Welcome to the Sharpe Show. So happy to have you with me right at 7 p.m. on the East Coast. Yes, yesterday I had my civil only show, and I was talking on that show about people moving forward. You personally moving forward in your own life, helping others to move forward. And then the show before that, I was talking about the America Party. I was talking about, Elon Musk becoming the America Party, what's going to be their policies, what are people going to be caring about, all those types of things. And together, that made me think, maybe this show should be about individuals and their politics and kind of where they are and what they're doing in their own politics. That's what I started thinking. Maybe that is the right answer for this show. That's what I was thinking. And I thought about that because, literally we all know that the advocates have been very good to me in many ways. I've been supporting them for years, and they have the world's smallest political quiz. And I thought this might be something we could talk about because it's a great way of having a conversation on what are you actually? What am I actually? Are we following the parties that we should be following? And more importantly, are Americans following parties that they should be following? I think that's kind of important too. If we don't know what we're thinking about and what we're talking about, having good conversations, how can we even turn or change? And I've changed in my life what I've thought was, right or wrong, whatever the case may be. Now, the most important piece, though, is clicking the button known as like. Lima, India, Kilo, Echo. Click that button. That matters no matter what, because this is going to be a great show. We're going to have lots of good, deep conversations. I really hope so. And also make sure you share or repost this. If you don't share or repost this, you hate America. Don't hate America. America's a good country. Don't do that. So show the world that you don't hate America, and please share or repost this now. It does matter. If you've not followed me yet on X, on Rumble, and Facebook, you really hate America. So don't do that. It's bad. You double hate them. And that's even worse than regular hate. So don't double hate. Follow me on X and Rumble, and do that, please, if you would. And please share it. Repost this someplace on X. Put this into a Facebook group, any of those things. All are good. Please do so. It does matter. All right. Why am I bringing this up? Okay. Here's the reason why. This is a great thing to do. As some of you seen me do this before, but it is important. When you go to the advocates, by the way, the link is literally in the description, show description. Use that link if you would. The link is literally in the show description on both Rumble, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Why does this matter? Here is why. The political quiz itself. I want to walk down this road. If you head to the world's smallest political quiz, let's talk about this real fast. I'm going to take this thing for guys. Look at these great quiz. I love these quizzes so much. I love the fact that we have the world's smallest political quiz. It's so good. It's so good. All right. First question I'm going to ask. And this is why it's not as easy as you might think. Government should not censor speech, press, or internet content directly or indirectly. Now, if you're a libertarian, you immediately go, well, no, of course not. No. But it actually isn't that easy. Or is it? In other words, are we saying there should be no censoring at all? Does that include some horrible things that might have to deal with people who are under a certain age? Should that be censored? Should overt violence be censored? Should nudity or sexual content be censored by the government or not? Maybe not, but I'm just saying, is that easy? I'm not sure it is. If you really think about this, right? The questions here are we know what they mean, obviously, right? We know what they mean. But to have a real conversation. And then there's a secondary piece, which isn't so easy also, which is, what if it's not government? What if it's X or it's YouTube? Well, because they're private, does that mean it's okay for them to censor by default? But wait. What if they're going to sit there and say, well, no, we don't want to be responsible for what people say because we're like a public forum. So we're basically the public square. Well, wait a minute. If you're the public square, then you kind of can't censor, right? Or can you? I know this question is easy. Most libertarians click, agree. But I'm going to ask you to walk down this road a little bit further. When you have an actual conversation with somebody about this question itself can make you think about how far you want to go. Are you at a point where you go, I don't care, no matter what? No, Okay, I'm not against that. I'm just saying that's one way. Or already saying, wait a minute. If it's spicy content for people of a certain age, yeah, censor that. Yeah, they're not, in this case, they're not consenting adults. Is that the issue, right? Is that the line that we have to draw? Is it consenting adults? Or look, it is what it is. If it's a crime, then the cops come, right? But you don't get to censor, but if it's a crime, the cops come, right? And that's how that works, and that's it. And then what about the idea of a policy on this? Can states draw a line? Or can only the federal government draw a line? Or can neither? And then what about when they want protection from the government? Because they do. So I want protection from the government so I don't get sued, but I don't want to be censored by the government. Well, if you're going to be protected by the government, don't you pay a price for that? Right? It's not as simple as someone may see if you want to have this conversation. It's a good conversation that we should be thinking about. And Cheyenne says it's okay for them to censor as long as they are equal and not doing it for the government. Well, if it's private, Cheyenne, why does it have to be equal? Why can't I create my Libertarian Twitter? I mean, don't want to go there, but sake of argument, and I'm going to censor everything that talks about, socialism. Because it's my private thing. I only want libertarian stuff on it. And I don't want anything to do with socialism. So I cut it all out. Is that okay? Now, legally, maybe okay, but are we talking legally only? In this case, government, right? And again, my point is, do we want to go down this road? And I think you have to draw a line somewhere. Sam says, I have to draw the free speech line with files of PEDs. Yes, thank you. See, I'm with Sam on this one. I'm going to go with as long as it is consenting adults. Yes. If it's not consenting adults, you may censor. That is how I feel. Now, some of you are like, you're not a hardcore libertarian. Maybe not. I don't care if you think I'm that. So I'm not losing anything with that one, right? So he goes, no problem with government shutting that speech down. There's something to be said for that. There really is. There's something to be said for that. And I think that's the piece I was trying to bring up. I was trying to bring up the piece that it's not as easy as someone might think. That's all I was trying to get at. And if you sit with someone talking about this, you will see people talk about this in a way that I think makes sense. Now, I'm going to go to a point where a policy issue. Because wait a minute. So does that mean that nothing can happen we'll go to private level on YouTube? Now, I hate how YouTube censors. Clearly, I talk like a baby on this damn site because of that. But to be forward, I have a very simple issue here. It's a pretty simple issue on how you can, make things better when it comes to this. How you're going to use your algorithm or whatever that thing is to shut people down. If you have a social media site and the social media site is 100% free, anyone can go on, then that social media site is trying to become the public square. If it's the public square and anyone come on, it's free, that means whatever algorithms you use must be public. Everyone can see algorithms. Everyone can see how you're doing it. And you go, well, Larry, I don't want that. Great, then charge for it. Charge a fee. It then becomes private. It's your own private club. Make whatever algorithm rules you want to make. Doesn't matter. But here's what we know. If you're on a site and it's free, then you're actually the product, right? If the site is free, you're the product. Well, if you're the product, you should know what you're up against. If you're paying for it, you're the customer. If you're not paying for it, you're the product. That's kind of how that works. So I wanted to bring that piece up. That was kind of interesting. So I hope you guys enjoy that kind of back and forth piece. Freedom Uncut says, government can't handle potholes, let alone our kids. True. Kim says, TV was censored for decades. I believe in ethics and respect for certain audiences. True. The reason why that changed, though, is because public versus private. This is kind of my point. Cable is paid for. Therefore, it is private. And because it's paid for, it's private. And it can't really be censored by the government, right? Individual companies can do their own censor if they want to, but the government can't really censor it, right? But, in fact, who censors it, if anything, is going to be your advertisers. They will censor it, if anything. That's why some of the more freer ones that everyone gets, they're controlled by advertisers. But the HBOs, which are paid for premium, those they put whatever they want on. That's why that works. Now, the airwaves are public. They're free in theory. I mean, if they really are. You just put an antenna up and just get it. So because of that, that's why the government would take it. It was the public square. That was the concept behind that. So, yeah. All righty. Let me ask the next question if I could. Another one that may seem easy for libertarians, but is it? Adults should have full bodily autonomy, meaning government should not interfere with decisions affecting their bodies. That's a broad one, too. Are we talking about the Fauci ouchie? We talking about that? Are we talking about, I got to be good on YouTube, deleting fetuses? Are we talking about that? Are we talking about, what drug I take? Are we talking about making drugs legal? Are we talking about that? All of these are very specific. But this question is very broad. So where do you land? And again, you have to go to a point where I think is interesting, right? I go to first one, government should not censor speech, press, or internet content directly or indirectly. Indirect, of course, meaning by pressuring others, right? Which is how they often do it. I'm going to go with agree, even though there are times when I wouldn't, because I lean more towards agree than not. But in reality, I'm not a purist. I'm with Sam. If it's the children and they're doing spicy stuff, censor away. I don't have a problem with that. It should always be consenting adults. Always. How about body autonomy? Mike says, very diplomatic wording, Larry. I know I gotta jump through hoops. It's YouTube, man. I said the wrong word, I get demonetized. So yeah, I gotta do something. Mike says deleting those small things involves another person. Yes. And there's the issue. So does that include body autonomy? And at what point, and this is the important piece, Mike, at what point does a government, remember this is government, at what point does a government say that's another person? And that's the hardest part. Does the government say it's at conception? Does the government say at birth? If not, what point in between? Right? The Supreme Court has said in the past viability, which I think most Americans go down that route, but not all do. Some say no, it's not a person till it breaches. It's not a person. And some say at conception. Not easy. But this is an important piece. If it's my body, my choice, if that's accurate, is it everything? And what I think we find here with this question, which I like so much about this question, is you find a lot of people thinking, am I a hypocrite? Because I want to be able to yeet the feet. How about that? Is that a good one? I want to do that, but you have to get the stick. Not your body, your choice when it comes to stick, but it is my body, my choice when it comes to ending the fetus. Yes, then it's fine. Or the reverse. Yeah. No stick, but got to give it. It's not as easy as one might assume, right? That's an issue that we should talk about also. Do you understand why I love this test? Because I've done this with people. I give this test when I'm actually out there doing doing parades and doing events. And we have these conversations sometimes back and forth. And people start really talking through this. And we start saying to ourselves, where do I really stand on this? Right? Now, I'm going to go agree because I'm like, you do you, of course. But there will be times where I'm with you, Mike, where I say, wait a minute. At what point is there another person involved? Yes. Cheyenne, not to say that, I love it. He says, the founding fathers made a way to amend the Constitution. Once limit speech or any freedoms, amend the Constitution. Yes, but. And here's my but. I feel like amending the first 10, right? The Bill of Rights. Man, is that tough. And I mean this culturally, Cheyenne. Like, this is tough to say, oh, we're going to amend the Bill of Rights. What? This is our Bill of Rights. Yeah, but no. That's tough to do. I'm not saying you're wrong, but that's tough. Next question. Government should not monitor personal conversations, correspondence, or search private property without a warrant. That seems to be like one of the easiest questions we've had so far. In my view, that's an obvious agree. Just an obvious agree, in my view. Why would you want to do any of that without a warrant? Now, of course, the answer becomes, well, because crime and because terrorism and because bad guys and because Muslims or whatever, right? Of course, that's the excuse. And because national security. I don't care, no. I don't care, no. This one, for me, is the easiest of the three. It's not even close. Not even close. It is the easiest one to deal with immediately. I just say agree. Never monitor without a warrant. Never, ever, no matter what. I don't care. I don't care what they're doing. If you can't find probable cause, then no. Mike says it. Obviously agree. Let's get rid of Patriot Act. True. Should have been gone a long time ago. No argument for me whatsoever, brother. Absolutely. Yes. Kim says, back in the late 80s, I viewed one party as in your house long enough to get in your pocket, and the other party in your house, got in your house, in your pocket, and stayed in your personal business. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that what in the 80s, Kim, I remember that concept was Republicans were out of your pocket and in your bedroom, and Democrats were in your pocket and out of your bedroom. I remember that thought process. Yes, I remember that. That's funny. Yeah. All right, we got the next one. There should be no laws against public assembly, no government control of peaceful private association. Now, that's literally in our First Amendment, right? But we still have them. And we had them more than once. We had them literally in a point where when it came down to the horrible lockdowns, where people were talking about, well, can we even go out and, gather? Remember here in New York, Cuomo said you can't have more than 10? Was it 10 people? You can't have more than 10 people at your dinner table or something, whatever it was, at your turkey, at your Thanksgiving gathering or something like that. And again, we were like, yeah. Most New Yorkers were like, well, it's because health, or it's because life, or it's because security, or it's because safety. No loss. No, this one again, easy for me. Absolutely not. No, but it happened here in many parts of the country, heavily in New York. It literally happened to where they said you can't have more than 10 people at your Thanksgiving. Remember that? For those of you in New York, you remember that? That was everywhere. You can't go out. You can't go to work. You can't go to school, whatever the case may be. Oh, Mike says 7 people. California the same, but Newsom was out having parties at restaurants. True. He was out happy. I remember that. Yes, absolutely. Phil says, shall we gather by the river? No, you shall not. You shall not do that, because His Majesty King Cuomo II, second of his name, grabber of butts, killer of grandparents, he has deemed it no. So yes, 100%. That part I think is interesting, because again, we surrender our rights for perception of safety, right? For perception of safety. So anyway, I have someone on Rumble, interesting comment. Never married says, get married, have children. I think that's a wonderful idea. If you love that, please do so. If you want to get married and have children, please do that. That's a wonderful idea. I don't know why that's on, but good. Yes, that sounds amazing to me. So do as you see fit. Next one, law enforcement should focus resources on crimes against innocent persons and property instead of victimless crimes. Obviously, again, the top 2 for me were challenging. They were. I could see going to a maybe on the top 2. I could. These bottom 3, it's black and white for me. I think absolutely agree. And here's the problem with that, though. What did that just do? That just says no such thing as gun laws. No such thing as gun laws. Yes, and I'm okay with that. But I got to tell you, most Americans, and to be forward, I know for sure most New Yorkers would disagree. Most New Yorkers think that possession of a firearm can and should be a crime, that you only get the right firearms, the right way it goes. They believe that. I think it's directly against the Bill of Rights. There's no exception in this rule whatsoever. It shouldn't matter. And people always tell me, well, you can't like own a tank or something. Well, first off, yes, legally you can in many states. You also can own a machine gun. You've got to register it in certain ways, of course. And on top of that, back in the day, that's what they would say. Well, they didn't know that back in the 1700s when they wrote this thing. Again, you hear me say it, and I'll say it again. Back in those days, people owned battleships. I'm not making that up. People owned battleships. That was a thing. You owned cannon. People owned cannon. That was a thing. Some people owned a cannon. Yes, you could buy a cannon or make one if you actually were a blacksmith or whatever. Was it blacksmith? Whoever would make a cannon maker, whatever that person is. You guys could go buy a cannon if you want. Of course you could. Who would stop you if you? I don't know why you'd want to buy a cannon, but you could buy one if you wanted to. And now, if you had a battleship, you need a cannon on your battleship. So you would buy a cannon, put them on your battleship, and you were good. And that's what would happen. So yes, but I do think people do that. But I got to go one step further. This also destroys all drug laws. Yes. And people don't like that again. Most Americans think the war on drugs is not failed. I think it's crazy to imagine that, but it's true. They think that these guys are evil. You can't have this. You shouldn't have drugs. These are drug deals. Silly. It's silly. There is absolutely no reason for there to be a war on drugs. Now, if you want to say, stop drugs from coming across the border or whatever, I guess you could do that. I don't know why, but you could. My point is, the war on drugs has not been working. And because you have a plant in your pocket doesn't make you a criminal. Did you steal to get that plant? That's a crime. Did you hurt someone to get that plant? That's a crime. Did you steal that plant? That's a crime. But having it, possession, should never be a crime. And if I were ever governor of New York, I would make that rule. If all possession crimes are not crimes, they're automatically pardoned. Just pardon them. Why bother? It's not a crime. But he had a gun. Did he use it? No, that's not a crime. Did he point it at somebody? Did he rob somebody? Did he threaten somebody? Right? Okay, great. No worries. That's a crime. But if he did, he had it. That's not a crime. Possession something should not be a crime. And I think we have to understand that. And sadly, most of us don't. Most of us don't. Let me walk down this road. So for me, those are all even. If I had to make a change, I might make a shift on one or two to maybe, depending upon, I might do one or two of those. I could go to a maybe either of those personal issues. I could, maybe. But the other three is easy. Other three is very easy for me. So, all righty. Phil says, the only plant that should be illegal is when police plant evidence. True. Yes. I like that one. That's an illegal plant. Shelly says, my daughter and I snuck out to a funeral of a close friend who died from the ouchie. Ooh, is that right? She didn't have the virus, and it was held in a church. We didn't tell the other kids because they would have worried. Oh, look at that. That's a good story. Yeah. Cheyenne says, the war on drugs created tyrants in Mexico. The war on drugs has created nothing but problems. Nothing but problems. So I completely agree. And loss. Becky, oh yeah, Shelly. Shelly has some great stories too. We have a couple people here in the chat who tell some amazing stories. Like they've been through some stuff, and I feel like they've been able to share a lot here. Makes people feel like they can share too. It really opens up. So I appreciate the stories you guys tell. I really do. I want to make sure you're, yeah. Mike in the house, ATF records show over 734,000 owned machine guns, 16,000 in New York State. Pucker machine gun created 1718. Oh, was that right? 1718. Wow. There we go. Yes. No. I'm with you. People think you can't, but you can. Yes, absolutely. Andrea says, do you think I could get a battleship on Lake Michigan? Now, no. But of course, there was a time when there were battleships on Lake Michigan. Of course there were. Yes, of course that was true. There were battleships, the equivalent of battleships, literally, for those who don't know, on the Mississippi River during the Civil War. During the Civil War, there were battleships on both sides fighting, ironclads, and what they used to call, the South had a thing called, they would call them cottonclads. I'm not joking. Why? Well, during the time of the Civil War, when the South was being embargoed, it had so much extra cotton that it couldn't get out. It literally would create tight bales of cotton and then take those tight bales of cotton and literally strap them onto their ships. The cotton was so tight that it would actually, when the cannonballs would come, it would absorb the cannonballs. They called them cotton clads. That is how much cotton the South had during the Civil War that they actually strapped it as almost like, if you ever see the tanks of today, they have that refractive armor that's like armor on top of the tank that blows off so they hit the tank. Well, the South actually had cotton on their ships. So the North had to blow the cotton off first before it could hit the ship. So interesting. So yes, that did exist. They actually had that. And of course, Phil with Free Dexter Taylor. Yes, except it's Taylor, Taylor, just to be clear. Yeah. All righty. Let's see here. Sam says, I remember when it first started, I wasn't able to cross country lines to pick up my cat. New York was very aggressive with lockdowns. Yes, I mean, it was insane. It was insane. And we just went for it out of fear. Remember, most of the time, Americans, our thought process is we are so powerful, we are so smart, we care about freedom. When we get scared, man, we just collapse, don't we? Fear, and it just all begins to collapse. It's embarrassing. New York was embarrassed. I say this all the time. New York City used to be where the hardcore people were. Used to be where the hardcore people were. Now, I don't know what happened. That's not who we are. That is not who we are. So, anyway, all right, let me keep going down here. Peace Logic over on Rumble says, how are my Rumble peeps? Thank you for stopping by, Peace. Sharpe Fan 12 over on Rumble says, the war on drugs has failed. If it was stopped, drug problems would solve themselves and people would not OD from laced drugs. Zero money should be spent on government clinics. I think it would eventually solve itself if we were able to prepare for it. It's my only issue as always. We got to prepare for it. That is my only concern. We've got to prepare for it. And I just popped up something here. If you can notice, I just popped up words and numbers. Why did I pop that up? Because what's happening over at Civil is very special. What do I mean by that? Civil, you guys know I'm on Civil. Absolutely. You know I am. And what's special about Civil is I was, and this is a part that's not as cool as I would have liked it to be, but it is still true. I was at one point the only show on Civil that was live and that was up like this. I was the only podcast like that. I was the only one. I was really the only one. Now there's another one. They're copying me, but it's fine. It's still good. Words and numbers over on Civil is actually, they're actually pretty good. They've done their first show just this week. So now I did mine before. I was first. Take that, words and numbers. They're second, which is still good. And look, Civil is doing what it said. It is growing and giving you more and more. Is absolutely upgrading. That's what it's doing. So guys, I'm going to ask you, if you have a chance, head on over to Civil. When you head over to Civil, if you want to see it, you can head on over there. It's CIVL.com. If you join, when you put your name in, upper right-hand corner, you see a little green place. Spot, hit that green spot and put in Larry, Larry, all caps. Gives you 50% off. So it's $25 for the entire year. The entire year, $25. And what's good about it is, of course, you get my show, which you get here too. Cool show out there. But you also get the special Wednesday show. Wednesday show is only on Civil. That's the special part. Only on Civil. Group of people talking about things that are important to moving forward. We've talked about happiness. We've talked about people getting out of bad spots, getting stuck, things like that to help you move forward. We're trying to make us better. We're trying to upgrade civilization. And words and numbers, here they go. I'll give you a spot from them too.
This is words and numbers.
What's new and exciting in your world this weekend?
I went to a funeral this week.
So people are going to funerals. I think Shelly's talking about it, and so are they. Now, they're actually talking about America Party before. I'm teasing about America Party. Now, don't get me wrong. This is a good back and forth. These guys are very good, very savvy to go back and forth. You'll enjoy their podcast. You won't enjoy it as much as mine because I'm better looking, but that's fine. You will still enjoy theirs. Now, I do this. They also have a podcast, but I do this live with you. Guys, check out Civil. There's so much on it. When you have a moment, CIVL.com, upgrading civilization. Code 50% off is Larry, capital Larry, $25 for a year. I keep showing you new stuff every single time. Every show I show you new stuff because there's always new stuff. And that's a huge advantage. So my guys, I think you guys want to start talking about. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Click the like button. As I always say, click the like button. It does matter. Let me pop back on, if I could, to... All right. I want to move to economic issues. I think I've covered a bunch on personal. I think that matters. I think it is important. But there's a second piece, and that is actual economics. And what I like about economics here is you're seeing it now with Mamdani. Mamdani in New York City is showing that America actually wants left economic issues. Yes, they do. They want left economic issues. That's what they want. And some of that's, I know some of you get scared about that. I get it, but it's still true. It's still true. They do want it, and you're seeing more and more of them want it. Phil, thank you for $2, my friend. There's limits on warships in the Great Lakes after 1812. Yeah, it's challenging. You it's not easy to put a warship in a lake, right? But yeah, of course you could have them there. Of course you could. I mean, large lakes. There were warships in the Caspian Sea out of Russia. I don't know if there are anymore. I'd assume there are, but who knows? You're not going to have the USS Missouri hanging out in the Caspian Sea, right? That you're not going to have. But you can have warships, absolutely. So thank you for that. All right, I'm heading over to economic issues. Government should stay out of healthcare, allowing people to form and choose health plans, associations, and charities freely. Now, this goes back to the same situation. Does that mean you want government out of healthcare now, right now? My worry always is the same. My worry is the same. If we just end it, then there's nothing there for people who are in trouble. And yes, in theory, I agree with charities and associations and health plans 100%. I 100% want that. The question is America ready for that right now? Is America ready for that right now? In places like New York State, over 50% of the population are on Medicaid or Medicare. That's a lot. If we just end that, what do we do with over 50% of New Yorkers? How do we get them to that next level? How do we get them health care if they need it? Right? And this is my point. I keep bringing this up. I definitely want government to go away, but we have to set up systems to pick up people who fall down. Can community do a better job? Of course. But right now, no. To be forward, right now, no. So I am concerned about that. This one I might go to maybe, because another piece I'm concerned about here is how do we transition? This is why this one for me could be a maybe or an agree, because of that worry, right? Healthcare, all of a sudden now, people might be dying. So I could go either way on that one. You see my concern here? And not just that, do we want, as culture matters, and our culture has been that Medicaid and Medicare is there for people who are in trouble, right? Okay. So would I be okay with, say, for example, allowing all of this to go to private, however, retaining almost like a catastrophic insurance plan that is government run, something like that. I'm making that up conceptually, but something like this where government is there as a last ditch attempt so you don't have to go bankrupt if you get cancer or whatever the case may be. Is that possible? I'd be okay with that. And he has libertarians, how dare you? If we can walk away from that at one point over time, I'm okay with it. But I'm not okay with just saying, okay, everybody, government goes away tomorrow. Good luck. When you saw during the lockdowns that most communities are not prepared to support themselves, you saw it. It's a big deal. Most communities are not prepared to support themselves. That's a problem. We have to fix that. So I'm torn on that one a little bit because of that situation. I am torn a little bit. So yes. All righty. So I can go down here. Ryan says, Missouri was also terrible and idiotic during the pandemic. So many states. You're right. Lunatic in the house. Fear is the mind killer. I must face my fear. Let it pass through me and over me. I shall face my fear. Dune. Fear is the mind killer. You're totally correct. And I tell people about fear when I coach people, walk them through things. It's natural to have fear, right? You don't want to suppress fear. It's natural to have it. The question is recognizing it, and then what do you do? That's the issue. If you just go, oh my God, I'm afraid, and you either freeze or you act, that's a problem. Fear should make you think. I'm afraid. Okay, why am I afraid? Should I still do the action or not? The concept of bravery is not an absence of fear. The concept of bravery is doing the thing even when you are afraid. So if I'm in a plane, I'm going to jump out, I should be afraid. Of course I should. I should think, okay, do I have a parachute on and is the plane on fire? Okay, even though I'm afraid, I should jump. No worries. I used fear to think, not to act. If I'm afraid, I go, oh my God, why am I jumping out of a plane? The plane's not on fire. I don't have a parachute. I probably shouldn't jump out of the plane. In both cases, I'm afraid, but I have to think, does it make sense? If someone's going to harm me, am I afraid of being harmed? Maybe, but should I just run away? Should I just freeze? No, I should think. Should I combat this person directly? Should I go get help? Should I run away? What should I do? I should think. But having fear isn't bad. Controlling fear or dealing with it, that's the key. And I think your point's valid, Lunatic. If people let it, it will be the mind killer. I agree. Lots of people fall apart. I agree with you. Phil says, words and numbers, a great podcast. True and now uncivil. True and not uncivil. There we go. All righty. Let me see if I can go on here again. Phil says, for civil to have live streams is a major upgrade in infrastructure. Not every video platform has it. The Wednesday live stream isn't in my routine yet. I miss y'all. Yeah. Look, civil is still growing. It's relatively new compared to others. It is bringing new things on. It is. Yes. Kim says, I spent all my grocery money for July on my civil membership. $25 discount or would have cost me 3 months groceries. Civil's awesome. Wow. You only spend $25 on groceries? I'm going where you are, Kim. I spend a whole lot more than that. Yes, absolutely. 100%. That's wow. Yeah, there we go. All righty. Liberty says, I heard next week's civil show is going to be a banger. Can't wait. We'll see. I hope so. Rick says he scored 100 personal, 70 economic. Yes, he weren't economic now, Rick, and you're having the same issues I'm having. You're thinking similar. It isn't as easy, right? It isn't as easy. I agree. Phil says the U.S. and Canada are only allowed 2 warships in the Great Lakes according to the treaty. Not sure it's a great idea. Yeah, I don't know if you even want any. Do you really want to be bombing Canada? I mean, I get it. I don't want to bomb Canada. Let's not bomb Canada. Let's not bomb Canada. I don't care if we have no war. We can have no warships in the Great Lakes. I'm actually okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't mind. Liberty says, ever since the grubby government got their hands in the healthcare, Obamacare, I can't afford my premiums and deductibles. I was able to afford it before that. Yeah, for most people who are in any way entrepreneurial, Obamacare was devastating. It wrecked so many people. Yes, absolutely. Ganjin says, if people are inherently selfish, would community takeover of healthcare if a culture's mentality is a dog-eat-dog mentality? Okay, I would ask you, where do you see that being true? Ganjin, if people are inherently selfish, is that true? I'm not sure that's true. And the example I'll give you is the Amish. The Amish don't have healthcare. Well, sorry, they don't have healthcare insurance. They have Social Security. Are they dying faster than everybody else? Are they not helping each other? Right? You don't have to get fire insurance if you're Amish. I'm not joking. Everyone in the Amish community have a community understanding. If your barn burns down, the Amish come over and they build you a new barn. That's your insurance. Your community is your insurance. They have made a social contract, right? We just got stuck with ours. But the Amish make a social contract. It is voluntary socialism. Nothing wrong with that. They've chosen to do so. They agree to. They want to. Good for them. I have no problem with them. So that doesn't show inherently selfish people. I don't think that's true. if you look before, what used to happen is most of the time communities were based upon ethnic background. That was a common thing. Enclaves of Italians, enclaves of Jews, enclaves of Irish, enclaves of insert group of people here, right? And often they would help each other out. It was a common thing. It was almost like a clan. I don't think people are inherently selfish. I think what happens is government makes them selfish. Hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. If you have a community solution, whatever that is, for welfare or for public assistance or for education, the case may be. Let's say, for example, you have a county group of people who get together and say, hey, if there's a problem, I'll help you out. And Ganji, you have a problem. And then 3 people come over and help you out. Those 3 people came over and helped you. You personally will look at them and go, wow, you guys helped me out. I remember you 3 people who came and helped me out. You will feel like you owe the community. You will want to pay it forward. You will want to assist them. You will feel weird and selfish and awkward if you don't. Change that. Now it's a government program. You're in trouble and the government writes you a check. What do you think? Well, of course they write me a check. I pay my taxes. Of course they do. I'm a citizen. I deserve this. You are selfish and entitled by default. Government programs make people selfish, entitled. It makes them take as much as they can. If it's community, there are people you must talk to. You want to pay it forward. It changes everything. Community makes you unselfish. Government makes you selfish. That's the evidence I see everywhere. Think about people when they're getting their welfare checks. They're not thankful. They're not going, Ganjan, thank you for paying taxes. Larry, thank you for paying taxes. I'm so thankful that you guys pay taxes for me. They're not saying that. They're like, these are my benefits. I deserve I'm entitled. Why? Because they're citizens and they pay taxes and they get their money. Right? I deserve it. But what if that was individual people within their community? That wouldn't happen. How do you know that? Look at churches. Look at the Amish. Look at civic associations. People pay it forward as natural. So if people were doing it, why wouldn't they? Not just that. If you have you see it now, there are healthcare plans now that work. They're working fine. Heavily through religious, not all, but heavily through religious groups. So that's my view. I hope that makes sense at least. So grab a couple more of these if I can. So I do appreciate all of these. I really do. All righty. Sam says, fentanyl scares me. If I get into a customer's car, will I die because I touched someone on the seat or steering wheel? Not a fan of unlimited freedom and chemical substances that can kill like that. To be forward, Sam, none of that's true. Fentanyl doesn't kill you in a touch. That's shit they made up to scare you. Not true. Fentanyl is actually very rarely laced with something. Stuff is very rarely laced. If you have an addict in your life, and I don't mean this to be mean, I mean to be real. People are saying it's all propaganda. These people are looking for like, they're looking for like an aspirin, and then they get fentanyl and die. Okay, yeah, 1 out of a gazillion people who take fentanyl. That's just scare tactics. Vast amount of people are not dying because of a mistaken overdose on fentanyl. It's not a thing. These people, I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. If you had addicts in your life, you know this. They want fentanyl. They want it. They're asking for it. They know it is hardcore. They know they might overdose, and they want it. They get fentanyl because they want fentanyl. They're going after it. They want the hardest core high they can get. They are aware of it. That's how addicts work. I'm not being cruel. My mom was an addict. I know what it's like to live with an addict. If you've had one in your life, you know what I'm talking about. It's what they're trying to do. You have to break them of it. And you're not going to touch on a steering wheel and die. That's not a thing. Cops made that shit up. None of that's true. You don't touch fentanyl and die. That's not a thing. It's not. That's made up. If that were true, there'd be nothing but dead people over the goddamn border all day long. Everyone would be dead. You know when fentanyl's come across the border? They'll all be dead. It's not a thing. You know how many border patrol agents be dead already? You know how many ATF people be dead? They'll be dead. ODEA, they'd be dead left and right. It's not true. It's not how it works. That's a story they made up to make you scared. That was fear tactics. It's not true. There we go. Andrew says it. The fear porn worked on a lot of people. Yes. Thank you, Andrew. You knew. It's not true. None of that stuff is true about fentanyl. That's all stuff they just make up. So yes. All right. Let me keep going down into some of these roads if I can. Let me move over to this one. Okay. So I might go with the maybe on this one because of that. I will go with agree or maybe. I'm torn. Move on to the next one. Let parents educate children according to their beliefs and preferences, free from government interference. For me, that's an obvious yes. That's a obvious agree. Not even close. Obvious agree. But Larry, public schools. Fine. Yes or no, I don't care. Our current public school system completely fails. Completely just everything is a disaster. It doesn't work. It's embarrassment. Private schools work better and they're cheaper. Both. Now, am I going to say you should not have any private public schools? Yeah, look, if you want to keep some public schools, the world's not going to end. I mean, I don't want them. I want them all to go away. I do. I'd rather somehow, every single president we've ever had has been educated with when there was not a federal Department of Education. Let me say it again. Every single president we've ever had, 47 of them. Well, not really 47 because a couple came more than once. But anyway, 47 in theory presidents were elected. 47 of them, every one of them was somehow educated without a federal Department of Education. It's not required. It's not required. Some of them were educated literally in a one room schoolhouse. Guys like Lincoln, right? Like that, right? Yeah, we can figure it out. And here with the internet, what's any schools period for? You learn whatever you want. If you're not learning stuff, you just don't want to learn stuff. Now you get AI, that's your private tutor. If you don't want to learn stuff, you don't want to learn stuff. And you don't have to. You're not required to learn stuff. But if you want to learn stuff, easy day. Easy day. So I'd let it go. But again, I understand why people would still want to wean off of this, maybe have public schools for a short period of time. I understand that. But for me, nope. Get rid of it. Education, your kids, you raise them as you see fit. If I disagree with the way you raise your kids, you know what? If I want to say something, I can say something. I have freedom of speech, but I have no power to control you. That's it. Yes. Kim says a certain amount of fear is healthy. True. That's true. You're right. Yes, you are totally right. Absolutely. Yeah. Shelley says, replace government with private charities. Spike Cohen had to stop the government from shutting down a church, run homeless shelter. We are the power. I remember that. Yes. Spike is killing it. Just doing so well. Spike's great. Love Spike. He just keeps killing it. He keeps going and going and going. I love that. Yes. Freedom Uncut says, scored 100 and 100. I am the real Libertarian. Glad you're coming back to the game show. Thank you so much, my friend. Yes, I'll be back. I think next month, I think I'm coming on. So yeah, there we go. Andrea says, health to savings accounts. Yes, they work. Yes. Ganjan says, I just asked a question to challenge my beliefs, but good example. I hope I answered it. I wasn't trying to be mean. I was answering what I actually thought. Ganjan, I hope it makes sense at least. So Shelley says, the Amish don't even require vehicle registrations or even blinkers. True. There are actually laws in most states where it depends upon how fast your vehicle can go. Now, most of their vehicles are horse-drawn vehicles. So with that case, they can't realistically go over a certain amount of speed. You don't require registration for that. True. And there's no electricity, so they can't have blinkers. But they do require, if I remember, I know in New York State, they don't require blinkers, but they require reflectors. I don't know if that's true in every state, but in New York State, they are required to have reflectors. That they have to have. So yeah, that is something there. All righty. Let me walk down here. Kim also goes on over in Rumble and says, Amish community functioning very well. True. Again, they had an actual social contract that people agreed to. Yes. So, all righty. Next one. Let's see here. Replace government welfare with private charity and mutual aid. And this goes back to what Shelley was talking about. Yes, but I have a however. Again, I hold the same however that I have with healthcare. The problem is if community can't pick up the slack, then what happens? Right? That's my issue. If community can't pick up the slack, then what happens? That is my worry about this. So, yeah. Phil says, when it's the black market, it makes things worse. It does. Thank you for $2, my friend. Yes, black market makes things worse because the black market means violence. People say all the time, and I hear this, particularly the left says this, but many people say it. Poverty creates violence and crime. Not true. Lots of poor people don't commit crimes. That's not true. Poverty does not do that. The black market does that. Why? Because in the black market, the only way you can enforce your contracts is through street justice. That's it. You can't go to cops. You can't go to courts. Because you can't do that, you have to go to violence. Street justice is the only justice you get. Therefore, you use it. Black markets create violence. Whether black markets in labor, substances, products, does not matter. Black market equals violence. That's why you want to get stuff out of the black market. The less prohibition you have, the less violence you have. If you think I'm making it up, do your own Google search. It is very simple to find. It's an absolute fact. The time when most police officers, law enforcement officers were killed was during prohibition. You end prohibition, deaths of law enforcement goes down immediately. That's simple. Get rid of prohibition, get rid of black market, less violence, less crime. That's every single time, no exception. So what do we do? Make more possession laws. Insane. The black market always makes it worse. All the time. Yes. Mike says, I know a friend whose son was at a party, handed a doobie, it was laced, he OD'd. Very sad. Yes, you do find people who lace some of their weed. You do find that here or there. Most of those people aren't doing it to be mean. They're doing it because they want the high hit. They want the big hit. And they either don't know or don't care or aren't thinking because they're an addict, any of those three, that other people can't handle it. Most people OD not because they took too much more than they usually take. Sorry, not because they take more than they usually take, but because they have been clean for a certain period of time and their tolerance has been adjusted. So if I usually took X amount, then I'm clean. Maybe I go to jail and I'm clean for several days or weeks, or the case of me, and I come back out and or whatever. Maybe I OD and I go to hospital for a couple days, right? And then I come back after being in the hospital because I got a bad batch, whatever the case may be. And now I'll go back to my normal amount that I usually take because I don't know any better. Well, my body's changed. Now I OD. That's the most common way that people OD, that kind of thing. Now, there's other reasons too. Not just that. Well, I want a big hit and I'm an addict. So a regular weed, that's nothing for me. I want an upper and a downer, right? I want my Red Bull and vodka equivalent for drugs. So I want my weed and my speed. I want them both, right? That's, and again, if you know addicts, this is a common thing. So I lace my doobie with my speed so I can also get my weed, or I lace my doobie with something else that I want, like a heavy hit for fentanyl or something, because I like it because I'm an addict. I don't think about somebody else. I don't care. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm thinking all I care about is getting my hit. So now I hand it to somebody else and they go. That happens. It's a terrible thing. I agree. So the moral of the story is know where you get your weed. Is that the moral? I don't know. I don't think that was your moral, Mike. I think I made that one up for you. I don't think that's true. So yes. Kim says, I personally know a man who had about $2.5 million in cash, gold, and silver in his safe. Yet he has his kids on free lunches, food stamps, and Medicaid. Makes me sick. He's just related to me. Yes. Why wouldn't he, Kim? Government makes you selfish. This is my point with Ganjan. What is he saying? I pay my taxes. I'm sure he's saying that. Government's going to give it out anyway. Just the government, who cares? I'm sure he talks that way. He says something like that. I pay my taxes. Government's giving it anyway. Government gives it to immigrants. Whatever. He says something like that. So why bother? Government is faceless and doesn't matter. And by default, there's no connection. Therefore, it's an entitlement. Therefore, you become selfish. This is exactly Ganjan's point. Thank you for that, Kim. That's how it works. That's the piece, right? So Andrea says, people are less likely to scam a charity than the government. True. Thank you, Andrea. Look, it doesn't make people perfect. People are still going to be bad here or there. But if you have better systems, you have better outcomes. That's absolutely true. So yeah, that's absolutely true. Yes. Liberty says, when my husband had his one-wheel accident, the board shut off and he did a Superman breaking his clavicle and foot. Ouch. They gave him fentanyl in the ambulance. Yeah. Fentanyl doesn't kill you. That's not a thing. Fentanyl is a drug that people use. It doesn't kill you by touching it. That's literally not a thing. I know people said that. It's not a thing. I appreciate it, but yeah. So, all right. I do want to, if I could, want to ask you guys one more favor. If you want your stuff to go to the front, if you want to, you can always super chat me, right? You can super chat me on YouTube or rant me on Rumble. I am trying to go through as many as can as we go back and forth. I like these conversations that we've had before. I want to have more of these. So I'm trying to grab everyone's as I can. I'm focusing on members, but I'm trying to grab everyone if I possibly can. If you want to go to the front and do what Phil did, either you can super chat me or you can rant me on Rumble if you want to. You can also become a member if you like. Like, become a member on YouTube, $49 per month. Click that join button if you want to. Also can do it on Rumble if you want to. Click that. Click subscribe during the live Either of those will help tremendously. So every bit that we get is going to help. If you can become a member, please do so. If you want to super chat me or rant me, please do that too. Both are good. Every bit counts. I do appreciate it. Let me go one more of these if I could. So since I've got the welfare and private charity and the government healthcare, one of these I want to go to maybe because I'm a halfway between each. So I'm going to go with maybe on healthcare and agree on welfare. That's what I'm going to do. But I could go either way on those. Either way. Go to the next one. Central banks should be abolished, allowing people to freely choose and exchange their preferred currencies. Okay. Absolutely true. However, there's a however here. How does one deal with, particularly with today's technology, how does one deal with fraudulent paper? How to deal with what would be considered, I don't know, counterfeit money, whatever that money is. How to deal with scams, right? How do you deal with that? I'm not saying that this is impossible or that we should do it. I want to get rid of central banks, of course. But there's an issue if you go to the next level. You can abolish central banks and not allow all currencies. That makes any sense. And also, what does allow mean? This question's loaded. What do I mean by that? Do you then say the government can tax in anything? The government can accept user fees in anything? Or does the government say, no, if you want to, people out there, you can trade any way you want. But if you're going to trade with the United States government, if you're going to pay your fee or pay your taxes or, pay your court fees, if you're going to court, whatever, if you're going to do those, pay your ticket, whatever you're going to pay, you must pay in the currency we say. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. As long as if you want to go buy your pizza in Bitcoin or trade with your friend in Dogecoin or whatever, that's fine. But I don't also have a problem. I don't have a problem with government saying, when you deal with government, you must pay in government money. I don't have a problem with that. You can do that and not have a central bank. For most of America's history, we did not have a central bank. We literally just had banks that would carry America's money. I'm not joking. Like whatever. Bank of America would have United States government account. I'm not joking. And you write checks out of the Bank of America account. Like a business, right? Big businesses have bank accounts. Lots of them. Like Google probably has, I don't know, 100, maybe 200. I don't know how many bank accounts they have. Maybe thousands. I don't know. They have bank accounts with banks all over the place. So all the billions of dollars in Google is in regular banks. There's not a Google central bank. It just has its money in bank accounts all over the place, right? 100 million here, billion there, 25 million here, whatever. However they decided to do that. They may break it up by category within the company. They may break it up by region, or I don't know how Google breaks it up, but they break up their banks. So could America. America could have 7, 8, 20 banks, each one for whatever. They got a bank for the IRS. They got a bank for immigration. They got a bank for the war machine. Boy, you want to be that bank. You want to be the war machine bank. That's the bank you want to be, right? So whatever, you could do any of those things. So I do think you can do it. I agree completely, but the issue is they don't have to be related. In other words, getting rid of a central bank could still mean America retains a currency, right? Could still happen. Or just demand that when you engage with the government, you must pay in that currency. That's not the end of the world, right? I could see that, and I'm okay with that. I do think you could do it. It doesn't necessarily, make it a bad thing. So anyway, alrighty. Let's see here. Ganjin says, speaking of horses in Arizona, you can't get a DUI if you're drunk riding a horse. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. There we go. Shelley says, yes, all slow-moving vehicles like tractors require reflectors. Yes, in New York State, I don't know if that's other states. I assume the same other states. I only know New York. If you're slow-moving, you don't require a blinker, but you do require reflectors. That's true. Yep. Son of Libertarian, thank you for being in the house, says, end Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, and put it in one, I don't know what that is, savings account that can also use for healthcare. It would virtually end most high-profit insurance companies too. Yes, look, I like the way you say that. I don't want to ban insurance companies. I want to make them irrelevant, right? If we have a good system in place, you're totally correct, then they'll go away because they won't be profitable. No one will use them, right? I think healthcare accounts would work. I also think you could use community groups. I think you could use, there's a lot of community groups that pop up and make this work. If you wanted to have, what I think would be a good idea is maybe a government-backed insurance companies that are government might back, like an FDIC for catastrophic, at least to get started. Because the problem is now, if you went down this road now, if someone got something catastrophic tomorrow, they'd be in trouble. So you'd probably want to have some type of Band-Aid, and that's the wrong word, a bridge. You probably want to have a bridge in some way. I'm not sure how you make that bridge scientific, but I think a bridge might be appropriate in this case to make sure that the people who get in trouble now don't immediately collapse, right? I'm not sure how that bridge works, but I think you get my point. My point is I think you have to have a bridge. If you don't have to, you should. There we go. I think you should have a bridge. Anthony says, I find it interesting that instead putting money behind the Green Libertarian parties, Musk is saying he's going to form and fund a new party. Don't you know why? Anthony, he wants to, because if he has to go to Greens Libertarians, he has to actually have an ideology of Greens Libertarians, and other people will control the party, right? The Libertarian Party, whether you like it or not, is filled with virtue signalers who are not concerned about having success at all, who just want to virtue signal. They just want to show who's the most libertarian. And that's filled with it. Well, he takes that party over. He's going to deal with them. And the second he doesn't do something libertarian, they're going to yell and scream at him and call him names. He doesn't want that. He starts his own party. It's all his money. No one can yell at him. Because they do, he just gets rid of them. It's a control issue. That's what I think is true, right? But I get it. Look, I would like it. I would like it if he'd give money to libertarians. If you hadn't been listening, Elon, give money to me, please. Happy to take it. Yes. Yes. Rhetoric says, I'm listening in my car while I drive. Everybody make sure to judge Larry for me if he picks bad answers. Yes, please do that. That's great. Kim says, central bank, be gone. I agree. The central bank can go away. I got to grab one more piece if I could. The central bank, I know people just want it to go away. I agree with you, Kim. The reality of it is I think we have to create, again, a bridge. I know you guys hate it, but I'm just being realistic. We've spent so many decades covering ourselves in deep debt. Our entire economy is based upon debt. If we got rid of our central bank overnight like that, I feel like we would just collapse. And why do I care about collapsing? Here's what some libertarians will say. Larry, it doesn't matter, because if we collapse, by default, communities will have to support each other, so they'll step up. We see that constantly. The market will step up, blah, blah. Conceptually, that's true. But here's what I've seen every single time. Instead of that, we get afraid. To Lunatic's point, it's the mind killer. We get afraid. And then once we're afraid, we beg for dictatorship. We beg for autocracy. And we can't wait for some strongman to come in and wreck everything. And we beg for that. That is my worry. My worry is if you just get rid of it, we'll be like, oh, it's gone? Now I'm scared. Please, strongman, come in and save us all. That is my concern. Ryan's with you. He says, bye-bye, central bank. Yep, absolutely. Michael says, the free market would foolproof the currency system. People would naturally be careful about counterfeit, and I think the free market would offer solutions. Maybe, I'm not sure. I'm not saying you're wrong, but all I'm saying is this goes back to my idea of the central bank. I would love my perfect world. My perfect world. We get someone like a Rand Paul to come in, someone like that, or Massey, someone who we know is wants to get rid of the central bank, whoever the person is, an ideologue, and say, I'm making this number up, Michael, for sake of argument. 3 years, whatever the number is, it may be 2, maybe it's 4. I made the number up. Conceptually, you have 3 years. And on this date, the central bank is gone. It's gone on this date. Make a plan to end it by this date. That's it. And you literally put it into either law or you put it literally into you amend the Constitution. As of this date, central bank is no more and may never come back. And that's it. And you have X amount of time, whatever that is, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, whatever that piece is, to figure out how to make it work. Now, why would I do that? Because you're right. If the free market knew that it's going away, whatever, 2 years from now, it would give the free market time to find answers. And that's what I want. I want the free market to be able to just go, oh, Wait a minute, 2 years? All right, let's go. Let's go. And then they would. If we just ended it, I don't know if the free market would have time to to have an answer. Plus, people have to change their minds on things. Like whatever the answer is, there's going to be early adopters. And then people who go, oh, okay, well, you tried it, now I'll try it, right? Like at one point, very few people had iPhones. Then everybody had iPhones. Same thing, Michael. At first, some people will do the cool thing and others won't. Then everybody will. And I think there's got to be some time limit. But again, it can't be a we'll do it whenever. It needs to be a hard date that is written down, codified, either in law or an amendment, that at this point, it's over. So this is what you got. You got 2 years. Hey, Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, you got 2 years, figure it out. Make it a soft landing. I think then, yes. But that's my issue. Overnight, I worry. I think you can do it that way. So, yes. Kim says, the banking system should be owned by the taxpayers. Oh, interesting idea. Shelley says, you can get foreign currency from a regular bank, but it takes weeks. Meanwhile, the bank is trading currencies at night. Ooh, nice. Very true. Very true. Yes. Phil says, we will definitely have commodity-based money without a central bank. I'm not sure that's true, Phil. Because with digital currencies, I think you would still have the equivalent of fiat money. I think you would. But because people would say, there would be a whole bunch of trust me, bro dollars. There would. The question is, how long would they last and who would use them? But I think you'd still have some trust me, bro dollars. I think that would still exist. But because that's who we are, right? We would still do some of that. Who knows how much of that? But I think we would. So, yeah, I appreciate that. All right, let me keep going down here. Next one is lift government restrictions on economic activity and enable courts to adjudicate civil and criminal law violations. This one can also be challenged, right? And here's my issue. The original meaning of regulation was meant to be to say make regular, not to limit, right? We look at regulation as limits. You got to regulate it, make it. That means to limit it now, right? Somehow punish it, put guardrails, right? That's how we see it now. The original word was meant to make regular. What does that mean? All right. The government would say, for example, this is how long a foot is. This is how much a pound weighs, right? So that I don't have, well, it's a Larry pound and a Shelley pound, right? So you can buy 12 pounds of sugar. Oh, not a Shelley pound, but a Larry pound. What? Right? That was the concept that, no, a pound is a pound. Shelley and I can decide how much we want to charge for a pound, but a pound is a pound. There's not a special Shelley pound and a Larry pound or, an Andrea ounce and a Larry ounce. No, an ounce is an ounce. A foot is a foot. A yard is a yard. If that is the way to regulate, I don't have a problem with that. The government has no problem, doing that. Or transparency rules, right? To make, look, everyone's got to say what's in the product or something like that. Those type of regulations, meaning to regulate the market, to make regular, I'm not necessarily against. Now, don't get me wrong. Could the civilian world do so? Yes, of course. Could the market do so? Yes, of course. I think you see it in, I bring it off in the health food stores. I think you see it with underwriters laboratories. I think you see it with kosher stamps. You do see it does happen. But the question is, how do we make this happen? And over what time period? How does that work? So that'd be my concern. But yes, I agree. But I'm just saying it's not as easy as you would think, right? And then you enable courts to adjudicate. Of course, I think courts should adjudicate. But then what are courts adjudicating on? If there isn't a law, how does the court adjudicate, right? Is it just that you create a victim? Is that it? Is it fraudulent? Is that it? And here comes the problem. If Shelley and I both decide to sell a pound of our cool coffee, because Shelley and I sell cool coffee, our cool coffee, and I'm selling it at $2 a pound, and she sells it at $1.99 per pound, and you go over to Shelley because she's cheaper, and you find that Shelley's pound is actually a special pound, which is half of my pound. Well, is that fraud? It's only fraud if we have a rule that says what a pound is a pound. In that case, Shelley is fraudulent because she said pound. We all know what a pound is because the government said so. But if we don't, and Shelly has her own special pound that I got my pound, she wasn't fraudulent. I mean, she kind of scammed you a little bit, but that's not a crime, is it? She's Shelly pound, not Larry pound. So yes, I bring this up because there can be details to this. There can be value. There's value to what we've created as a referee. Again, can civilians create referees? Yes. Have we? Here or there? But right now, you watch us. We fall to government to be a referee for everything. And then it doesn't become to make regular. It becomes to limit, to create oligarchies, to create monopolies, to create grift, to create crony capitalism. Regulation creates crony capitalism. Regulation is not what it should be, is to make regular. That's the problem. So I'm going to go to agree with this one completely. So yeah, I already did that already. I wouldn't agree with, but you guys get my point, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to grab a couple more of these if I can. All righty. So many people. Phil says, JFK supposedly wanted Congress to start using currency separately from the central bank. Oh, that's interesting. Issuing currency, it's interesting. Yeah. There we go. Kaz Badney says that president would be JFK'd. And sadly was. Yes, absolutely. There's a link to the advocates. You guys grab it. Please grab that link, guys. That link is the one that's in the descriptions on Rumble, on Facebook, and on YouTube. That link is what lets them know that you used my link versus just going there straight. So please use that link if you can. So yes. Sam says cryptocurrency exists and people have adopted it. I think the problem is more cultural than central bank exists. Yes, I agree with you. We feel comfortable with it, right? Culture matters. People will say, no, it's only logic. All that matters is facts. No, culture also matters, Sam. You're correct. How do we feel about things does matter. I completely agree. We have to feel good about it. We do. So Shelley says, the Bureau of Weights and Measures. Great when your gas station is ripping you up. Yes, I don't have a problem with that. And if people go, what? Yes, I don't have a problem with, this is the equivalent of creating courts and cops, if that makes any sense, right? I don't have a problem. If you say the word pound, it's what this bureau says. And you can decide whether you want to use it or not. That piece, yes. Michael says, soldiers, also known as regulars, well regulated meant well-trained. Yes, correct. That they still to this day call them irregulars and regulars. Regulars mean, of course, you are trained, right? You are right. We know what you get with them. Irregulars means you're not trained. You don't know what you're getting. So irregular troops often are undisciplined, but some aren't because some are actually trained. They're irregular. You don't know. Some are very experienced. Some are not experienced. Some are great marksmen. Some are terrible marksmen. But if you're regulars, you know they at least have basic training. They at least are decent marksmen, right? You know they have basic training. They are regulars. Correct. Exactly. Regulate is not what regulate today is not what it was meant 200 years ago. Absolutely true, Michael. We don't really use regulars anymore. Okay, historians will use the word regulars for military soldiers. The average person doesn't use that. They'll use militia, or they'll use something like that. But militia, generally speaking, are regulars. That's what they would have been called 200 years ago. That's correct. Yes, and you always want regulars if you can because you know what you're getting, which is like you regulate. You know what you're getting. 100% correct. Absolutely true. So, all right, I'm keep going down here if I can. Guys, I appreciate these so much. I really do. Yes. Phil says, if you say the word pound, I start throwing tea in the harbor. Look at you getting all triggered. You getting all triggered, Phil. Don't throw any tea. Why are you throwing tea? I told you already. Me, after throw tea, because me and Shelly, we sell coffee. So throw your tea out, buy some of our coffee. All right, grab a bonus issue. Which label best reflects your views? Libertarian, progressive, moderate, conservative, authoritarian, unsure. Obviously, I'm libertarian, clearly. Obviously, yep. Which political slogan appeals to you most? These were interesting. Listen to these slogans. Freedom to choose, always. Forward, together, for all. Tradition, strength, freedom. Balance, stability, civility. Order, obedience, discipline. Order, obedience, discipline. You will listen to the empire. So yes, but look, forward, together, for all. Doesn't that sound nice? That's some nice rhetoric right there. As communist, but this is nice. I like that one. That is great. Tradition, strength, freedom sounds nice also. These are all nice. But of course, I'm going to go from the choose always. Of course, I'm going to do that. I'm a libertarian. Of course I am. But there's some nice rhetoric there. There definitely is some nice rhetoric there. I do want to say that. There is some nice rhetoric. Speaking of that, if I could. Speaking of that, I do want to go, before I give you that piece, we talked about socialism and we talked about tradition, faith, all those things. There is something very interesting here on civil. And if you look at this one, this is this is part of the Dad Saves America series. This is right here with Lawrence Reed. This is about a year old. Socialism, Faith, and Civilization, right? With the amazing Lawrence Reed, very savvy Lawrence Reed. This piece right here, he's talking about why this happens and also how faith is involved. A lot of people, when you have faith, either go right to socialism or often go right to authoritarianism. You see it happen often in these two. It happens often. It's an issue, and he talks about it here.
Larry Reed, welcome to Dad Saves America.
Thank you, John. Pleasure to be here.
I invited you here first and foremost because I wanted you to explain to me how and why Jesus was or was not a socialist.
This is a key question. If you are a Christian and you believe that in the word of Jesus Christ, you have a lot of people who will say he's a socialist. There's books on it right there. Was Jesus a socialist? This conversation is going to be interesting for you. These are the types of conversations you can have on civil. I would ask you, where else can you have the conversation without someone just yelling, socialism bad, Jesus bad, or whatever is a thing, yelling other guy bad all day. You have this on civil. This is the kind of conversations you can have. Imagine that, right? Socialism is gaining popularity. What would Jesus do? That's a conversation that people can have. And it's not crazy. It's something that people would enjoy, have a conversation about, talk, and you can now show it to your friends and you can have a sit down and have a chat about this. This is what I love about civil. I keep pumping it because it does matter. And of course, I'm on it. I'm on the network. So that makes it cool by default. But in any case, if you want to do this, do me a favor. Pop on over to civil, civl.com. When you put your name in, upper right-hand corner, little green part there, click that green part, put in code Larry, capital Larry, 50% off is $25 for the entire year. One full year. I've shown you stuff. Every single show I show you more cool stuff is already worth it. 1 week. You get it for a year. This is a steal. You are robbing them. You are the robber for $25 a year. Look at that. Maybe Ganji was right. We're all selfish. Ganji was right the whole time. You guys are getting this for $25 a year? Yeah, you're selfish. You're robbing them. You should give them double. But don't. Do the code. Do the code. Code Larry, $25 a year. Enjoy civil. And you can see my Wednesday show, which is a special show, which is always on personal growth. Personal growth, family growth, professional growth, happiness. That's what these shows are about. People are loving them. People who watched the show last Wednesday really loved it. People watched the show before really loved it. Wednesday, 7 p.m. only on civil. Civil.com. Code Larry, 50% off. Upgrade civilization. It does. Oh, absolutely true. So yes, I want to keep going. If I could, a couple more of these, if I could. Phil says, Lawrence Reed is libertarian royalty. Yes, true. Yes. Mike says, communism always sounds nice. You're not wrong. It does. I tease you all the time, Mike. I know you're not a lefty, but lefties have good sounding rhetoric. It's just true. It sounds nice. Everyone gets a unicorn, Mike. Everyone, and there's going to be rainbows and puppies. Isn't that great? Who doesn't love rainbows and puppies? You're going to get all of it. It's communism, yes. And when you get a gulag instead and up against the wall and shot, that's because it wasn't real communism. See, that was the wrong communism. The right one, it's all puppies and rainbows. So yes, he goes on to say it draws in more people that way. True. Then they get the other end of the stick. Yes, the one that does not have the puppies or the rainbows. It never ends with puppies and rainbows, Mike. They say it does, but it never ends that way. If it ever does one day end with puppies and rainbows, if it ever does, then I'll be a communist, I guess, if it ever actually does end with that. But it never does. It never ends in that. It just never does. So let me grab a couple more over here on Rumble. Peace. Thank you for the $1. So homeschooling. I assume there has to be some way to know that we're getting a base education. How do we make sure stupid people are not educating our kids? Parents that are poorly educated. Stupid people educate our kids today. Yeah, but it's happening now. This dystopian world future you look for, peace, is today. Yeah, our kids can't read now. New York, the state spends the most and just went down to like 40th or something in education. Just went down again. I forgot what it was. It's down again. It's now in the bottom 25 of 50 states. It's the bottom 25 now. Yeah, it just went down again. So yeah, test scores down. It's happening already. Who cares? It's already bad. But it's very simple. If the state can still decide if you have a high school diploma or junior high school diploma, it's very simple. You have one statewide test that someone can take, like a GED as an example. You have that. Homeschool your kids if you want to, put them in private school. If you want them to have the certification, again, the state can provide a certification, not a requirement, but a certification. If people, meaning employers, value that certification of a high school diploma, a junior high school diploma, a GED, whatever is the piece of paper they require, you can send your kid to take that test. You pay whatever the fee is, $25, $50, whatever the fee's going to be. You pay it. And that's a user fee. The state, administers a test. You pass the test, you get a certificate. Done. If employers don't care about the state certificate, then you won't get it. If employers care about a certificate, you'll get it. But here's the best part. You can now create certificates in things that matter. So do you want someone who has a well-rounded education? Awesome. The state can provide a well-rounded education certificate. What's wrong with that? I don't care about, are they math geniuses? The state can create a math genius certification. I care they're a great writer, a writing certification, whatever. Science certification. The state can provide this if employers want it. Let's say the state doesn't want to provide it, or employers don't trust the state. Okay, private organizations could also create it if they wanted to, right? You could have colleges create it if they wanted to. A college could say, hey, Harvard has 7 levels of math, 4 levels of science, or whatever they want. You pay $25 and you get there. Did your kid get a certification? Awesome. They didn't? Okay. It's not required. But Larry, what if everyone doesn't get basic education? They're not getting it now. Most kids to this day don't know American history worth a damn. I'm not making this up. A simple Google search will show you. Most 4th graders read terribly. Most 8th graders read terribly. They don't know history. They don't know anything. I'm not making this up. And you can see it. It's true. Immigrant kids are doing fine. Immigrant kid, you're screwed. You're wealthy, you're fine. Why? You're private tutors. Private tutors, you do well, which is why AI is going to replace a bunch of teachers, because AI is a better tutor than most teachers. I'm sorry, teachers. It's just true. It's just true. That's going to happen. So I'm not worried about it. Right now. They are poorly educated. That's what's happening now. We are below the top 20 when it comes to OECD countries. Is it OECD or OCED? It's OECD, right? Whatever that is, that group of countries. We're in the bottom half now in education. That's how bad we are. It's already happening, man. Already happening. What I'm saying is allow the market and the government. I don't mind the government can have it too. Maybe the government has a more respected test. Maybe. Similar to like the bar for lawyers, right? So the state says you want to be a lawyer in the state, you be licensed by the state, you must pass this test. You don't pass the test, you're not licensed by the state. The state can do that if you want to. You want to say you have a high school diploma in New York State, you must pass this test. Pass it when you're 7, pass it when you're 70. I don't care when you pass it. When you pass the test, you have a high school diploma. And the state can create whatever it wants. And so can others. And again, employers may care. Employers might say, look, I don't care if you're good at math. I care if you're good at overall knowledge. Okay. Does the state have an overall knowledge test? If not, will a trade association have one? Will a college have one? And then you will decide which one you respect. You might go to state one's garbage when it comes to this, but Harvard's is amazing. Take the Harvard one. You pass that one, I'll hire you. That's the one I want. Or whatever. Again, this is how the market will pop up automatically. You will see it happen already. Once the state is no longer a monopoly, you will watch people pop up, and it may be specialized. right? Imagine if MIT, I'm making this up, had a tech certification test and you wanted to hire technicians. Well, you'd want them to pass the MIT test, wouldn't you? They ain't gonna take it when they want to. I think that's how you do it. You allow that to happen. So yes. All righty. Sharpe Fan 12 says most of what Jesus said was for individuals and small Christian communities, not governments. How you act towards your neighbor and how the government treats people are very different things. True. Was it saying, give unto Caesar what is his and unto me what is mine? Oh, I got that one wrong. I know. But you know what I'm talking about. Yes. I think if you look at what Jesus spoke about when it comes to government, he did see them as two separate things. I think that's true. Yes, absolutely. Kim says, peace logic, poorly educated parents can learn as they teach their kids. Win-win. True. Not wrong. Yes. Americua says over on Rumble also, unions do training out west for state licenses in many trades. Correct. Why can't they do it again? Why not? Let unions do that. That'd be awesome. Let unions have tests. You pass the test, you're certified by that thing. And if the unions scam, if the unions do scam, eventually people will figure it out, right? The employers will go, the unions are scamming. That one's a bogus test. I want this other test. You'll see it happen. I think you have to get rid of the monopoly and let people know what's happening so they can recover appropriately. That's the issue. Can they recover appropriately? It might take some time. That's an issue. It might take some time. So, yeah. All right. What I'm going to ask you, though, guys, now, if you like what I'm talking about and you enjoy this kind of conversation, click the button known as Lima India Kilo Echo. Click that button now if you would do so. It does matter. If you have not shared this or reposted it, I don't know, you hate education. Why do you hate education? Get smarter. Learn some stuff. Not necessarily public. That's fine. That's two. So please go ahead and share this. Repost this someplace. Put it into your Facebook post. Put it someplace else you can. I appreciate it. Follow me on Facebook, X, and Rumble. I'm trying to get Rumble up to 500. I'm at about 480 or so. I'd like to get past that. So if you go over on Rumble, click on that. That would be nice. I appreciate it tremendously. Guys, I know you like what I'm talking about. I'm about to show you, by the way. I'm about to show you my results. I'm hiding it. You're not going to know what it is. But yeah, I will do it in a second. And remember, coming up here is the members panel show. It is tomorrow, 8 p.m. I will not be on 7 p.m. tomorrow. I'll be on 8 p.m. tomorrow. I have 3 people who are going to be on, unless they cancel on me, in which case I'll be calling somebody. People know who I'm going to call. Yes, I'll be calling if someone cancels. Otherwise, it'll be 3 people plus me tomorrow. I'm not sure what the topic is. It'll be something cool. I don't know what. It might be family. I mean, people talk about family a lot. Maybe it'll be that. Maybe we'll just talk about stuff. Who knows? It'll be fun. It'll be interesting. We'll go back and forth. And better yet, all the people you see in the chat that have names, you will see their faces and their voices. And here's the best part. Once that happens, every time you read their chats, you'll think of them and hear their voice. Think about that. You will think of them, their face, and hear their voice. That's kind of cool. This is why this is one of the reasons why this is so amazing being a member. That's why I bug you to become a member if you can. Because once you become a member, you come on a show. That's awesome. Members get their stuff read out. To become a member, $29 per month. Click that join button on YouTube. Or you can also do it on Rumble. You can. Yes. Please grab that if you can. It would help. It helps tremendously. The panel show is tomorrow. So if you have a chance, please check it out. Tomorrow is when the actual show is. So, all right. We grab a couple more comments and I'll pop over that last piece. Okay. Phil says, I love puppies, but not with barbecue sauce. Like tends to happen in socialism. Yeah, but you don't get real barbecue sauce either. You don't get that either. Yeah, it's knockoff barbecue sauce. Yeah. Michael says, Vermin Supreme promises free ponies. I got to tell you the part I love about Vermin Supreme. I'm a fan. I like Vermin. So he gets asked. I forgot who it was. Was it Ted Cruz? Might have been Ted Cruz. He says to him, so how are you going to pay for the ponies? He goes, no, they're free. He goes, who's going to pay for ponies? And Vermin goes, do you hear me? It's free. No one's paying for them. They're free ponies. So literally he's like, it's magical, just like government. That was the brilliant part of Vermin Supreme. He just yelled at them. I said they're free. No one pays. Everyone gets a free pony. They just get free ponies. That's it. Just magic. Magic dust. It's just magic ponies. It was brilliant because he said it with a straight face. It's like, it's free. What's wrong with you? No one pays for them. They're free. That's it. Just magic. We all get ponies. And according to Vermin Supreme, we all get ponies. Everyone does. You just get a free pony. I love that. It was so good. Yes. Andrea says, Larry, I love puppies and rainbows, but not socialism. Yeah, it never ends that way. It just doesn't. Yeah. It never does seem to end that way. Maybe one day it will. I don't think so. I don't want to try it. I don't believe it. So no, but they'll keep promising, I'm sure. So yeah. All righty. Let's see. Phil says, but mandatory toothbrushing. True. If you listen to what he says, you must brush mandatory toothbrushing. That's true. So he's very libertarian when it comes to ponies. Everyone just gets them, it's free. But he's very authoritarian when it comes to brushing your teeth. He is, yes, very much there. Yes. Honor AC says, you're the best, Larry. We'd love to see you visit Niagara County again. I will. I will be out there again. Of course I will. I cross the state every single year. I will be out there again. Absolutely. 100%. Yes. So, all righty. Let me grab here if I could. Jim says, use the ASVAB. That's true also. The ASVAB is the Armed Forces test. 100%. Use the ASVAB. Also would work. There are many ways you could use it. There are many ways you can use it. Kim says, Kintsugi not here tonight. She said she tired you to jump in and jump out. So she just jumped in and jumped out. Mastermind says, the government demands a monopoly on violence. True. I don't think we can get around that, Mastermind. But we don't have to have a monopoly on everything else. We kind of have to give them that one. But we don't have to have them give them a monopoly on everything else. That's the problem. They have monopoly on violence, so they took monopoly on everything else. That's it. Yes. So, all righty. Kim says, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. I think that was about taxes. Yes. Phil goes, make sure you send Roman legions to take money from people and evict people from their homes if they can't pay. Second book of opinions. Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's true. Yeah. And he also said, no warrants required. He said that too. That was the third book of opinions. True. I remember that. I read that. I did. Yes. All righty. See if we go down here. Peace Logic over on Rumble says, website for free ponies, please. Does it include free food, maintenance, psychological help? No, that was the downside piece. It's just ponies. You got to pay for the food and stuff yourself. The ponies are free. Maintenance though, no, that's on you. You got to pay for that one. So, just saying, he didn't have all the answers. He had lots of answers, not all of them. So yes, Liberty says I was in the last member show. You were. That's true. Andrew was on too. That's true. Phil was on also. Yes. Peace was on. Yep, absolutely. So a lot of people have been on. So those of you who want to go back, this is my fifth one. Tomorrow will be the fifth one. There were 4 before, so that people have been on. So you can pop on if you want to. So yes. Otter HC says Jesus' opponents were trying to get him to make a statement that would get him arrested by the Roman government. Yes. Jesus called them out on it and highlighted the spiritual focus of his mission. True. That's true. Accurate. All right. Let me grab, if I could, I'll do the final piece here if I could, which is once you take it, calculate my results. And if you want to, you can sign up if you want to with Facebook, email. They already have my results. I could log in. Or you can click the X. I'm going to ask you if you can. Please sign up if you want to. Please give your email or go on Google, whatever the case may be. This way they will send you an email about every couple of weeks saying, hey, here's some cool stuff happening in the advocates. Here, they'll send you when there's like new quizzes and stuff. They'll ask you opinion. They'll do polling, what you feel. So if you can, please do so. I would appreciate it. And I'll hit the X. Oh my God, I'm a libertarian. I can't believe it. I'm so surprised. Surprise, surprise, surprise. 190. Now, here's the funny part. Where are Americans going? They're going economically left. If you look at what was happening in America about 10, 15, 20 years ago, the Democratic Party and left was trying to push people socially left. That backfired. But they are going economically left. That's Mamdani. If you look at polls right now, and I'm not happy about these things, but I'm just being very, very serious about these. If you look at what's been happening, Mamdani is an example. More and more people are thinking that Medicare for all is a good answer. I do not think that's a good answer. Doesn't matter. A lot of Americans do. How do we fix that? Yell at Mamdani and say dumb stuff like he eats with his hands, with the dumb guys like Charlie Kirk are saying, stupid stuff like that. No, who cares if he eats with his hand? I don't care. Find the better answer. When Americans have an option of no answer or a bad answer, they're going to pick the bad answer, We see it always. Let's not do that. How can we fix this? By providing better answers. Otherwise, you're going to watch America shift economically left. Tariffs are economically left. Phil says it. Hold on, Phil says it. Steve Bannon is economically left. Yes, he's talking about taxing the rich. Steve Bannon is talking about taxing the rich. The country is beginning to shift economically left. The woke world has failed. That's gone. It's starting to move economically left. How are we going to stop that? By providing a better answer. That's the issue. We have to provide a better answer. If we don't, the country's going to keep going economically left. That's how it works. That's how it works. If you head down here, you click share your results. You can share on Facebook. You can share on X. And you can sign up for more quizzes, whatever you like. I ask you if you can do this. I appreciate it. They have absolutely been very good to me. Please be good to them if you would. Then I ask you for any money. They ask you to take this and share it. They're nonprofit. They want you to share it. Please take this test and share it. If you want to, next one right afterwards, take the human respect test. Let's about that one too. Take that if you can. If you got a few minutes, it does help. Please make it happen if you can. I've bugged you a lot. I know today I did, but I really would like to do so if you don't mind. So anyway, Shelley says, left authoritarian is where we're headed. Yes, you're not wrong. I wish you were wrong. You're not wrong. That's true. And I'd like us to not. And it's not, and I know people are going to say that they're going to attack and go, oh, it's bad, it's dumb, it never works, blah, blah. Did yelling orange man bad work? No. Did saying Trump should not cheat? Did that? No, that didn't work. That did not work. Screaming how bad communism is not going to work. We have to have a better answer. I keep trying. I want to. I hope you'll help me with this, but it takes conversations. It takes people talking. If people take this test that I just did, take a test that we just did, and they come up anywhere near libertarian, and most people actually come up moderate. Did I have it here? Did I say what it is? Oh, hold on. You know what? Let me go back. I'm going to show you what it is. Most come up moderate. Let me show you this real fast if I can. Hold on. I'm going to show you the bottom of this. I should have shown you this already. Let me pop this off if I could. Hold on. All right. This is actually, see, this is where I am. Libertarian. Tells about libertarians. And then compare your results. Here. Most people are actually moderates. Most people who take this test are moderates. Over 134,000 people to this test became moderate. Authoritarian is the smallest, then conservative, then progressive, then libertarian. Think about that. Moderates and progressives. Yes. Think about that. That should make you realize something. And this number, authoritarian, while small by percentage, recently in the past 10, 20 years, has gotten bigger by percentage. It's still the smallest, but it's getting bigger, which means people are becoming, to Shelley's point, left authoritarian. She's right. People are moving towards progressivism, true, and authoritarianism is growing. Most people are still, absolutely still moderate. Most are. But you see a trend. That is my concern. There is a trend. Liberty Lady says, one time I got a very Republican syndicated radio host to take a quiz with his producer during the commercial break during his live stream. Oh, nice. I like that. Yes, absolutely. Look, I think more people are more moderate than they think. Right? Shelley says, I don't think authoritarianism is admitted by the test takers. Oh, no, it is, Shelley. I brought this up. It absolutely is. I've given this test when I'm doing an event as at a libertarian place. I'll actually do it. And then when I give a test, people will pop up authoritarian. They'll go, yeah, that's true. I kind of am. They'll say it. Why? They want change, Shelley. And they will do whatever it takes to get change. And if that means cracking skulls, if that means building gulags, if that means that they will. Here is my biggest worry. And my biggest worry here is I can see Gen Alpha and Gen Z building the camps, building the gulags, building the camps. Why? Because Gen Alpha and Gen Z are so damn unhappy. And unhappy people want socialism. They're really unhappy. I could see them. They're young. The men are going hardcore conservative, and they're checking out, which means they'll go authoritarian because they'll check out. People go authoritarian when they're not being social. They're checking out. Oh my God, that's a problem. Phil, thank you for $2, my friend. Press like for the top 10 worst politicians, episode 666. Yes. Episode 666, I think, is next week, probably, or the week after. I forgot. This is 662. I think it's like next Thursday or something. I think that's when 666 happens. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'll do that. So, yeah. Otter says, authoritarianism is awesome as long as your guy is pulling levers. Yes. Yes. As to Mike's point, as long as I'm on this side of the stick, it's great. I don't want to be on that side of the stick. I'm on this side. We're good. I completely agree. Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. Yes. Mike says, I'm curious, has anyone ever plugged in a politician based on votes or a party based on ideology to see what the results would be? Yeah, that'd be a tough one. Maybe we do that. Maybe another day we'll do that one. It's not a bad idea. Maybe. It's not a bad idea. I like that idea. That's good thinking, Mike. Good thinking. I gotta figure that one out. Peace over on Rumble. Thank you for the $1. So what's the thing we can risk achieve with healthcare? The thing we achieve with healthcare is having the private market actually work. And that's challenging. And let me give you the example I mean by this. If you look right now, healthcare right now, that is non-essential. LASIK eye surgery, cosmetic dentistry, body enhancements, all that stuff. In every single case, it is not regulated the same as essential healthcare is. In every single case, what's happened is pricing has gone down, accessibility has increased, and service has gone up. In every case. When I was a kid, to get cosmetic dentistry, you had to be like an actor or some wealthy person. No one else could have it. Now, anyone can have cosmetic dentistry if they want it. Isn't it crazy? It's not they'll finance it for you if you're not making much money. You can get it if you want it. It is now accessible. It's far more accessible, right? So the regular healthcare is insanely expensive. Nobody goes broke because they got body enhancements. They go broke because they had, a car accident. Very different. You might go, but Larry, it's different. It is different, but still, you can die, right? Going under anesthesia. I mean, these are actual doctors who are all licensed to do these procedures. Of course you can, but it's not a problem. So that's the thing. That takes time and energy and trust. And eventually we'll have things where you can finance things. Insurance companies will work. That kind of stuff will eventually work. That's how it works. So, yes. Peace also does. Dean is drinking a micro beer at New Story Brewery in Oklahoma while listening to country music outside on a sunny day. My troubles seem far away. Oh, are you trying to make us jealous, Peace? Well, it's working. It's working. What do you do in Oklahoma? I like Oklahoma, by the way. Been there a couple of times. And actually, my first time in Oklahoma was actually when I was trained as a Marine at Fort Sill in Oklahoma, outside of Lawton. That's where I was at one point. So, yes, I appreciate that. All righty. I think that worked. That's good. All right. Thank you for that piece. I appreciate it. Guys, I want to ask you one more time, if I could, as I always do, click the button known as like. It does matter. Every time you click it, it's going to help. It helps the algorithm. I care about my algorithms. I'm trying to grow this channel. It is very challenging to grow this channel. I'm constantly banned shadow type all the time. I've got a couple sponsors now making things get better. As you see, I'm trying to move forward in this. It does matter to me tremendously. If you can help, please do so. Remember, tomorrow is the members panel show. It is important. Next Monday, there will not be a radio show. I will be busy. There will be a repeat. If you want to watch a repeat radio show next Monday at 1, I won't be live that day, but I will have a member show tomorrow. And I'll have an AMA Saturday at 7. Tomorrow's 8 p.m. panel show will not be on civil. Tomorrow's will not be on civil. That'll be just us chatting. Saturday, there will be an AMA that will also be on civil too. So we'll have that too. And of course, as I always ask, the new algo does love if after this is over, you please put a comment down below. If you would do that afterwards, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, to tell me, what do you think about these type of tests? Do you like them? Don't like them? Do they help? I think they're amazing. I think people love taking quizzes. I tease you about, what SpongeBob character are you, or what Dungeons and Dragons alignment are you, or whatever the case may be, any of those things. Don't do that. Take this test instead. Please tell me what you think about it. I appreciate it. Remember, if this is not live, you're going to see 2 videos pop up. When those 2 videos pop up, please watch one of them for at least 8 or 10 minutes. The algo loves that too. I would appreciate if you would do that. that will be amazing. Guys, thank you so much for today. I will see you all very soon.